No, but going back to the theme of the making America safe again. I mean, I've lived in Washington D.C. since on and off since '95, where there were parts of the district that were challenging to go to, and I remember in college people would be afraid to go to U Street with me during the day. That is simply not true anymore. And growing up in Miami, also not a city that was not known for
security.
We had our own fair share of issues, and we were due for a riot about every 7 to 10 years, and we are well overdue now. So, Bob Hines, I mean, as the Midwesterner at the table, I mean, it is from you frequently come back from the show saying you need to go to America's heartland, it's God's country. Are people really feeling unsafe in Ohio or Indiana or Michigan?
I don't think so. I was out in Ohio recently, and everybody's very comfortable. Everybody's very happy. They'd all like the government to go away, but that's always the case. But everybody is. When I was out there, everybody was very happy. Everybody was comfortable. The baseball season is on. Everybody's watching the baseball season, and everybody's having a good time and relaxing. And it's a pretty easy place out there.
And if somebody gets elected and decides to send stormtroopers in order to quiet the Midwest, all of that will be changed into.
We don't want to do that.
Then you're going to have fear.
We don't want that to happen.
No, exactly.
Are we talking Alan Moore?
Yeah. So, as politicians do, the phrase "Make America Great Again" is an exaggeration in that it suggests that things used to be really great and now they suck. But it is not new for politicians to try to hearken back to an earlier time where we're oftentimes we remember things in better ways than they actually were, or and Bob Dole did that in 1996, and
Bob Dole, who was at the convention yesterday and got called out by Melania.
92-year-old Bob Dole, bless his heart, was trying to talk about some of the greatness that we seem to have left behind, and Bill Clinton talked about being a bridge to the future. So it was two different sorts of storylines to play to different constituencies who had different feelings about where we were as a country. Today, we have had such slow recovery from the recession of 2007 and 8 and 9 that many people are still angry as hell about what happened to them. Whether they lost a job, they lost their health insurance, went into bankruptcy because of health insurance, watched their communities collapse and dissolve, watched their savings plans disappear, lost their homes. Now there's been slow recovery, and a lot of people have recovered some of what they lost, but other people have postponed retirement and have been under a massive financial pressure. And so from their standpoint, making America great again is making it great like it was in 2007, not 1957. But just 10 years ago.
Supposedly took place in the 50s.
So right, but he wasn't alive in the 50s. So it's when we say again, it doesn't mean we have to go way back. So that's one thing. So what Trump likes to say is, and there's a very large constituency for this, that the reason things aren't how they could be and should be is illegal immigrants. We don't have control over our borders, and trade deals that have hollowed out communities all over the Midwest. We don't produce that much steel, and if we do, it's a different technology. Automobile industry is totally turned upside down, and many other manufacturing areas have been affected significantly. Plants closed, towns, communities shut down. Other industries like coal, they're heading down. Even the oil patch these days is in bad shape. So you don't want to blame economic forces. You don't want to blame technology, which is behind a lot of the change in the manufacturing sector. You want to blame something tangible. So you scream and yell at foreigners who are producing and incompetent trade negotiators. So you take this issue of free trade, which has always been a pretty well accepted part of the Republican litany, and push it aside and play to people's. It's a very complicated story to understand why global trade, international trade, really works broadly to our benefit. It's easy to see when a plant closes and a city's in desperate shape, and it's very hard to see that you can buy nice clothes today at Walmart and elsewhere far cheaper than you could 15 years ago. It's just there are just a lot of things that don't make sense for Americans to make anymore. And then with regard to immigrants, we use them in many, many ways. We integrate them. They're part of our society. But as we lose control of the numbers of who gets in, and we lose control over who it is who comes in, and there's this great suspicion that Islamic terrorists may be coming in large numbers, you play on people's fears.
Yeah, I think.
Congressman Allen.
Well, I completely agree with Alan that there is an unease in the public, or great sections of the public, and they're looking for a way out, and it's ideal for politicians who want to blame it on some people that can't fight back, there's nothing new about that. I mean, politicians have been doing that. William Jennings Bryan,
The Cross of Gold. Well, also one of the other things I found interesting from last night was the not just the military, which we expect at convention, but the loved ones of deceased military or combatant folks. One of the quotes that I just pulled up a list of the quotes from yesterday's convention, and one of which was from Patricia Smith, whose speech I found remarkably uncomfortable and almost exploitive. Patricia Smith is the mother of one of the security detail for Ambassador Stevens in Benghazi. Her quote was, "I blame Hillary Clinton personally for the death of my son." I have trouble remembering seeing this much emphasis on the loved one of deceased military folks. And there's even a mild conspiracy theory, I had to look it up, for a Chinook helicopter was shot down in Afghanistan with the call sign Extortion 17, for blaming apparently the Obama administration for not sending in air support. I was trying to get my brain around what, aside from partisanized.
They have 4 nights to fill, and this business of using, I mean no disrespect when I say this, human props to exploit tragedy is not new. I have observed in the Congress, both parties. I will say that the Democrats have been way out in front of the Republicans in my observation on bringing in poor souls, putting them before the cameras, talking about them, and they don't always get to speak. They're just there. They're victims that reflect the failures of evil Republicans to do the right thing, and the result is these poor souls. I really dislike what I consider to be the exploitation of people who have suffered. I don't think this is. We need to hear their voices. To me, it always. There are a lot of ways we can hear their voices, and we're well aware. So I'm not. On the one hand, I'm not a big fan. On the other hand, I'm not naive.
Well,
If you're going to pull some people in and they're going to tell a sad story, and maybe they will. I mean, blaming Hillary Clinton, for example, is so over the top. But it may work. Sorry, Al.
Congressman Al.
no, I just say I don't blame the mother. She lost a son. She's grieving,
Yeah.
and she's
And that's serious.
really unhappy, and she's saying some things that really don't make sense, but I dismiss it from her. Now, if her congressman says the same thing, that's a different matter.
Yeah.
He's not emotionally involved in
No,
that.
he's just
and
making a
he's
speech.
just
You know,
in fact, waving her son's
Exactly.
body around in the air to get.
very inappropriate.
I certainly would never blame the individual. Just like I don't when Harry Reid or somebody up in the Hill brings a group of 10 victims, I don't blame those victims. I feel like they're being exploited by the political process. Now, if they don't feel, presumably they don't feel that way, they're glad to have voice to their feelings and the emotions. I'm just not a big fan. Never have been.
You know, there's
Popeyes.
value for people like that who have been in bad situations, and when you can bring their stories to, they have a chance to speak publicly. That's helpful for them to get something out, get it off their
Yeah.
breath. And that's I don't.
But at this kind of national spotlight, is it really beneficial to them?
I don't know. I don't know that it's not a question of how many people listen. It's a fact. It's a statement that they have a chance to say it. And I think that's what's important.
I think the distinction is whether some individual who's been hurt and is grieving in a public meeting and says something, blurts it out. I don't hold them responsible. I do agree that if you gather up a whole bunch of these and line them up and say, look at these people, and then you tell their story, that's
Yep.
a very different
Yep.
matter.
And I'll let that be the last word as we enter our next break. It is 5 o'clock, so we're now going to order our drinks. But when we come back, I mentioned Patricia Smith's speech for a reason, because apparently the presumptive nominee, soon to be the nominee, Donald Trump, actually did a call-in to Fox News during her speech. But that and more when we come back.
Yes.
Right.